Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And with the start of the league fast approaching, Scump has a few interesting words to say on exactly why so many pro players have retired over these last couple of seasons, but also why he certainly does not plan to until he gets his second World Championship ring. Very much intrigued your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hitting a like button is the best thing you can do. Top the channel recently, people. Please do subscribe as well if you have not yet already. First of all, this from Gizmo thought was kind of incredible. Like every single day, of course, there's more crazy stuff that happens on this game. Not really sure how this happened, to be honest. He spawns in and just immediately something goes completely wrong. He just falls straight off the map. Just fantastic stuff, frankly. Not sure why the spawns work like this. I've seen this a couple of times, actually, where people spawn over at that roof on Tuscan, just looking the wrong way. So I guess it may be something that they might fix in about 8 months' time when the game is no longer being played on a competitive level. This also from Rokkr Alex now. They've decided to up their coaching staff again and bring on a data analyst into their team. So they already have Looney as kind of, I'm not sure if he's the head coach or like strategic coach, whatever they've got going over there, but Looney's there. We've got Brian Saint is there. Reppin is there as their kind of analyst from last year. And now they've got this new guy, Alex, in as well. I don't know how much Reppin is really working with their team anymore because he works on the other esports as well, like their Valorant team at version 1. But still, Rokkr's coaching stuff has now kind of gone from 3 to 4, which now matches what FaZe are doing over there as well, right? With, I guess, their S&D analyst in Tupac. They've got Mack as the stats guy. And then they've got, Crowder and RJ as their kind of coaching staff. And a lot of people said that that was the reason why Toronto and FaZe last year, one of the reasons at least why they were so good, is that they had a great back-end team in addition to their full roster, right? So we'll have to see if that actually worked for these guys on Rokkr as well going into the upcoming season. Cool stuff, so congratulations to Alex, no doubt. This also from Chrome that Alicia Wicks was pointing out last night to Alicia, was leaked. She managed to find some good leaks, really, about, the Challenger Cup and the scheduled dates going into the upcoming year. So pretty much the entire schedule has been leaked. If you want to check out the entire thing, all the dates of all the cups and this type of stuff, at least as has apparently been leaked, not officially announced by the league, it's in this article here. Few highlights, though, just to mention. Some, of course, kicking off very soon, right? The Elite Series starts the end of January, pretty much to run alongside the regular season of competitive play, at least a professional side, as pretty much we had last year. But maybe a few tweaks here or there. Also, interestingly enough, the mid-season classic, there was no real announcement in the leaks here as to whether some of this stuff was going to be on LAN or online, or whether there was going to be return to LAN for challenges in the latter half of the season. But this mid-season classic apparently is going to be an in-person event. And this, I imagine, it sounds very much like this kind of, pro-am event that they were talking about, right? Mid-season classic, kind of similar to the kickoff classic. You would think that might well be where they have the pro players and the amateur players at a single event, right? And they have, these matchups that we were talking about a little bit earlier on as kind of maybe a slight step back the CDL is doing this year to the kind of CWL days where amateur teams actually can play up against the pro teams. That might be what's happening here at the mid-season classic. I guess we'll see about that. And then Challengers Champs going on about August 12th, which usually happens a couple of weeks before the actual pro champs, which you'd imagine end of August, similar time to it was last year. So I guess all makes a fair bit of sense. Some of this stuff maybe I'd like to see pushed back a little bit because I'd like the season to be a little bit longer than it was last year, frankly, for the pro side as well as the challenger side. But these guys had an awful lot of opens and cups to play, to be honest, last year. So maybe they're they're kind of looking forward to getting all the money in and having a little bit of a break after this event does conclude. But yeah, mid-season classic, definitely interesting to keep your eyes on when I guess this might well be confirmed by the CDL at some point or another, if that is indeed this kind of pro-am tournament that we were discussing. This then from New York last night. So Hydra's back in the US, and they're actually going to get to practice once again here, this Subliners team. So they've had quite a while off now. I think that, 3-week break. There's Crimsix right here. They're back in business. Kickoff in 11 days. Not sure he's counting exactly right there, because I'm pretty sure it starts on the 21st, but we'll let him off. Grinding every single day at the Subliners. And Clayster also says the following first day back was a success. I am indeed still a menace on the map. So fantastic to see from the kind of old guards the Scum is going to go on to talk about here in just a couple of seconds time. But I wanted to mention actually some of the scrim sets that they played against Boston. So we only saw one of the scrim sets, I guess, that New York played on stream last night. I imagine they played another one after this, but they played Boston in the first series they played. And to be fair, I thought New York would probably be not particularly well warmed up. They haven't played a scrim set in like 3 weeks or so. They play Boston right here. They lose the first map, but turns out they actually lose this series 4-3. But on all things considered, it was a pretty close series. So fair play to New York, getting back in the groove, and probably just about got enough time to get things turning around. Because at the end of the day, we know that this game might well be quite different now to it actually is in a couple of weeks' time when the Kickoff Classic is being played. If the changes that are rumored come through with the spawns and the like that we've been discussing, that maybe Sledgehammer will change, maybe they won't. I guess we'll have to see. But still, New York Subliners versus Boston right there. Also, Boston go on to play Optics slightly later in the day. This was a particular highlight map, really. It was kind of interesting. People were discussing this, that every single year, certain teams have their kind of favourite maps where they're particularly good on. And Gavatu may be that map for Optic. They've certainly had some good results on the map. that I've seen as of late, putting Boston here in the 60-point club. The entire series, we'll look at that in just a couple of seconds, but was particularly impressed by, well, at least the scoreboard right here. Doesn't mean all that much at the end of the day, but interesting stuff nonetheless. So Scump has a few interesting words to say. Firstly, in this, well, at the end of this video that Optic come out with last night, kind of looking back on the dynasty in the period from 2016 through to 2017, losing in that crazy Assault versus Formal 1 versus 1 in the, well, the 2016 World Championship, right, to fall out of that tournament in top 7 through 8th, and then, of course, going on to win the World Championship as they were kind of expected to, right, the next year, right, and that kind of like whole period of time was pretty incredible, and Scump talks about the kind of feeling after winning the World Championship and the celebrations that they had as a result, but also the fact that he really wants to get that second ring that he's lacking right now, and discussing some of the reasons why so many pro players have kind of hung up the sticks the last couple of years.
Like pure euphoria, like whenever you win something like that, it's like, because it's a whole year, you know, culminating up to that moment. It's practice, you know, content, going to shoots, going to do this, going to do that, streaming, whatever it may be, and whenever you finally win it, it's like, I don't know, it's just like everything is, nothing matters to you anymore. It's like, thank God, you know, it's like we won. Because it wasn't like we just won normally. It was like we had to battle to win. So, yeah, it was definitely a moment of like just pure joy, and it's, you know, in its pure essence. I mean,
there weren't any cameras around because that was celebration time. That to me was time to be in the moment. It was something to celebrate for sure.
I want number 2 though. I want number 2. I want my second one. That's why I keep playing.
Why do COD players retire so young? I don't know, man. I don't think, like, it's very, I don't want to sit here and like try to act like, you know, what we do is hard, but it is. It's a hard thing. Being a pro player is hard. You have to grind. You have to play every day. Like, I don't think it's reaction time. I don't think it's like anything. I don't think it's anything like in terms of aging. I think it's just, it is hard to do that because you're like, people think, obviously it's every day, you know, it's every single day, and people start very, very young. Like, people are grinding to become pro players years before they're even pro players, and people don't see that. I've been playing Call of Duty since I was like 10. I didn't go pro till I was like 15, and I was like grinding, or 13 maybe. I don't remember, in 2011. So I was 15 when I won my first pro tournament. Like, it is a very long grind. It's a long grind. And people just lose motivation, you know, like, especially now, you know, people are upset with the state of COD and the CODs that are coming out. And like the veteran players like me, we've played all the godlike CODs, you know? So imagine our motivation year after year after. It builds up, man. It really does. It just, that's how it is.
So it's great to see that Scump is still very motivated to keep playing. We saw a couple of days ago he was discussing how confident he is in this current Optic Texas lineup, right, going into the upcoming season. And, you know, I think a lot of it really is, it's not necessarily the players, like the reaction time falls off or whatever. It's just the amount of grind that has to be, well, committed by some of these players, right? That just, as you get older, it's just difficult to accomplish that, right? You know, look at a guy like aBeZy. He's got a kid there, he's got a wife, he's got a family. Like, yeah, it's difficult to put in all the time that you have to be a professional player at the very highest of levels. So, you know, it's great that Scump can still do this. Crimsix and Clayster still also in a very similar boat over there, and you know, I don't know how many years those guys have left, but I think we're going to miss them when all these guys do retire and move on, right? But one of the big questions really about Scump has been, especially in kind of that GOAT conversation, Crimsix is up there. We talked about Crimsix's opinion actually yesterday on you know, what he thinks when other people like put other players in the mix, right? When Clayster's in the mix, when Karma's in the mix, when Scump is in the mix, Crimsix says, you know, like he's got reasons as to why he's the #1 player as opposed to these guys. Now, one of the reasons Karma's been up there, right, is because he is a 3-time world champion, Black Ops 2 in 2013, Ghosts in 2014, and then Infinite Warfare in 2017, all of those being on LAN, but that's kind of the thing that's held Scump back to some degree, at least in terms of the GOAT conversation, is that he only has one World Championship ring right from 2017. There was a couple of others he got very close. His record at the World Championship is incredible in terms of statistical performances. He always turns up massively, but has often arguably been let down by his team, especially in some of the earlier years. years. So I think if Scump was to be able to get his second ring, that would really, well, put another question mark in the conversation, right? Because right now, like, Crimsix is pretty unanimously number one, but, you know, if Scump was all of a sudden to get the second ring on a new team and, you know, on a LAN environment, then, you know, won a few more championships here, and then, of course, you've got the other question about the fact that, like, what Scump's done for Call of Duty over the years, then, you know, all of a sudden it puts a new light on the situation. So I can understand why Scump wants to get a second ring there. He basically says, look, you know, I'm still competing to try and get that second one, and you have to wonder if he does get it this year or next year or whatever, then, you know, does he just retire on the spot, right, and says, you know, that's it for my career? That's a question mark. But hopefully, of course, he continues to compete long into the future. Thought there were some interesting words there regardless. Just to kind of round out the scrim set, right, that they had against Boston last night, it was 4-3 in favor of Optic. So interesting, right? Boston versus New York was 4-3 in Boston's favor. This one was 4-3 in Optic's favor, despite the kind of dominant map 3 on the Gava 2 that we did indeed look at. And yeah, Boston just put up a good fight to Optic every single time they played them. So excited to see what the matchups are for the Kickoff Classic in a couple of weeks' time. A couple of guys were asking about that. Like, yes, it is a proper tournament format here, where the teams will be fighting in a single elimination bracket to win some, I don't know, I guess there's prize money on the line. There's no points on the line, I don't believe, for the season. But yeah, if we do get Boston versus Optic, it'll be interesting to see how that works out on LAN, because the scrim sets between these two guys are often very close indeed. I imagine they're pretty close between other teams as well, but we only get to see Boston right now. This also from Clayster, right, because well, we kind of looked at what Crimsix had to say yesterday about Clayster and kind of that, well, the back and forth that he had in this bed video. And well, Clayster versus Crimsix was a pretty entertaining one, even when they weren't teaming together. But well, this also, as FaZe says in the reply, you and Crimsix need a podcast, need it in my veins, and Clayster says soon. So maybe the kind of Crimsix and Clayster podcast, that would be fantastic, to be honest. Hopefully it comes at some point this season. It would, well, certainly be a good and entertaining watch. I'm very sure about it. And just to finish off with this, actually, just to mention real quick from the Activision Blizzard side, because there's been a lot of talk really about the kind of QA, the quality assurance testers over at Raven and the like, and seemingly Activision just straight up ignoring it and just using people that aren't actually striking to get the work done. So just another one of these examples of ABK, like, I don't know what they're playing at half the time. Once again, probably not making the best decisions as a company on this situation, but very much intrigued to get your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting the like button tells the YouTube gods this is a good video, and as like you should see it as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you much as always, take care, and I will see you next time.